for inviting me here. As you all know by now, I'm Ian Pittaway, early music performer, researcher, and author of the website earlymusicnews.com. And you have little cards on your seat if you want to know any more about the subject I'm discussing today, or a range of other topics in medieval and Renaissance music. The plan is to take you on a tour of types of secular music and song themes. I can hear it booming.
Yes,
I'm going to take it down a bit. Yeah, that's it. So the plan is to take you on a tour of secular music and song themes, and some of the instruments in medieval music in the 12th and 13th century. I'll move around the instruments, playing 2 pieces on each. Each piece of music being an illustration of a movement in 12th and 13th century music. And I'll focus especially on the earliest surviving examples of some music genres in England. I'll talk about the instruments specifically and demonstrate them towards the end. And along the way, for the brave, I'll invite you to join in with some medieval polyphonic singing. I will be asking for volunteers, okay? But I won't do that evil thing that comedians do and go, you! I won't be doing that, proper volunteers, okay? In general, I tend to sing medieval songs, whatever the original language, in modern English, replicating original syllable count and original rhyme scheme, so there's direct understanding. There is medieval precedent for this, with originally French or Latin songs translated and reversified in Middle English, the English of the Middle Ages. After all, a song is about communication, and no meaning is communicated in a language you can't understand. So the first instrument I will play is called variously the symphonia, the symphony, the chiffony, or the orchestral. It's in the box. The beast will come out of the box in a second. First, a bit about the song I'm going to sing you. Godric of Finchale was a 12th century English international merchant who left that behind to become a hermit. He was born in Norfolk, and he lived in the immediate wake of the Norman conquest. He moved to Finchale near Durham to live the secluded religious life. Godric spent time with the Benedictine monk Reginald of Durham in the 1160s. After Godric died in 1170, Reginald completed the biography he started during Godric's lifetime, including 3 songs by him. Only 4 verses in total, 2 one-verse songs and 1 two-verse songs. The songs are in a mixture of Middle English and Latin, and are the earliest songs in English for which the music survives. I'll sing you one of these songs, Sainte Nicholaes druð. We'll have only the monophonic line, so I've built an arrangement around it on the symphony, or the orchestrum, the chiffony, and I'll sing that 1 verse in the original Middle English, and then again at the end in modern English, so you know what the hell I'm singing about. Unfortunately, if you're not on the front row, you can't see the beautiful carvings, but I will at the end invite anybody to come and have a close look. All right. Sainte Nicholaes druð, timbrerus feiere schone hus. Ach, die Bürtat die Bella, Sainte Nicholaes bringes well fara. Sainte Nicholaes druð,
tindreros feier schone hos. At the birth at the bella, Sainte Nicholaes bring us well para. Oh, Saint Nicholas, God's very own, built for us a fair and bright home. At your birth and at your death, oh, Saint Nicholas, do bring us there safe.
Meanwhile, something quite different was happening in Occitania and France, which, as we'll see, had a huge and long-lasting influence on music internationally. What we now think of as northern France was, in the medieval period, the whole of France, where they spoke Old French and then from 1350 Middle French. What is now southern France was then independently Occitania, where they spoke Occitan. In Occitania, in the late 11th to the end of the 13th century, there were the troubadours. Today we would think of the troubadours as songwriters, but there was no such idea in the medieval period. They were poets who composed verse and sung it to music. The troubadours were in the south, in Occitania, and in the north, in France, with their equivalents, the trouvères. And there were various equivalents in what is now Spain and Portugal and Germany. It became an international movement, and as we'll see later, England. Troubadours and trouvères considered themselves good Catholics. Many of them went to fight in the Crusades, and some of them were monks. But the idea that they were good Catholics was not reciprocated by the upper hierarchy of the Catholic Church. The reason was the troubadour's chief poetic genre, fin amour, meaning refined or perfected love, which in every case meant unrequited love. I'll sing you an example and see if you can hear why this was so offensive to ecclesiastical sensibilities. This is by the trouvère Blondel de Nesle, who lived in France from around 1155 to 1202. And if you recognise the word Blondel, his name, there was a folk group in the 70s who named themselves after him, the amazing Blondel. The only connection between the group and the man is the name. There's no other connection. I will ask you at the end what you hear. If you can hear what's so offensive about this. Put yourself in the mind of your average 12th and 13th century Catholic bishop or pope. See if you can hear it.
A heart that is yearning is calmed by comfort and tenderness, yet through love I have been harmed. I have died of a kiss, unless another is granted to me. It was my undoing to near her be. Candid to death's face I'll see, if I longer must wait, with no balm. A kiss in private is a wound made by love in my body, filled with anguish and with doom, but nothing shows for to see. Alas, why did I boast so freely? How will my health recovered be, unless the thing that wounded me touches my lips again and soon? Love, you led my faithful heart, tricked my faithful heart like this, when you sweetness did impart into her tender kiss. You prepared my heart for to die, unless of her I have more I cry. So it is clear to me, with a kiss did love betrayal start. If I loved God the Lord, and I love this creature who drains, torments me as reward, God would grant me mercy true. Never was a lover more true than I, serving her in hope of joy. None love more earnestly than why have I no grace when I adore. If my heart in wooing her was a false heart, then I see that my heart could recover, but that is not the way for me. May God never let me have any thought of deceiving my love at all. I have opened just one thought, that love wounds and also cures.
So offensive to the Catholic hierarchy. Yes.
It doesn't seem really completely Christian.
In what way?
None of the words.
I mean, there's nothing devotional about it at all, except devotion to this woman.
Mm.
Yes. So, let me explain. Oh, yes, yes.
Is there a reference to the petite mort at the beginning?
To the what?
To the petite mort at the beginning?
Oh, the little death. No, but I know what you're referring to. We're in a church, should we say it? Okay. Yes. Yeah, there was, yes. I'm not sure if that was an idea yet. It might have been. I don't know. I don't know. Yes.
Has it got something to do with being betrayed by a kiss? Is that a reference?
Well spotted. Well spotted, yes. Yes. So, Finamore, refined or perfected love, was an obsession with an unavailable woman, with sexual desire, not with desire to serve God. Very often in the song, she was unavailable because she was a married woman. So troubadours were singing of their desire to commit adultery. Particularly in Blondel de Nesle song, the protagonist is betrayed by a kiss. Anyone would hear the resonance with Jesus being betrayed by a kiss and recoil at the comparison. In verse, this man says he loves this woman more than God. God would grant him more mercy than this woman does, but still he lusts after this woman's sensuality more than he desires God and spirituality. The hope of joy, which is a common reference in troubadour song, is troubadour code for wanting sexual intercourse, not spiritual joy. The hope for grace in the song is being allowed in the presence of the desired woman, not holy grace. And he focuses on her kiss as a wound, not the salvific wounds of Christ. The next instrument you'll see is a gittern. I'm going to sing you another much lighter trouvère song to illustrate a way of performing a song that didn't make it past the Middle Ages. This is C'est fou en May, it was in May, in the Langue d'Oil, Old French, by the 13th century trouveur Moniot d'Arras, which means the little monk of Arras. We know nothing about him, other than that he was little, a monk, and from Arras. And he was a trouvère, and he wrote songs. You'll hear in this why we refer to these verses as poetry rather than lyrics. I've replicated the exact rhythm and rhyme scheme, and you'll hear it's exacting. The way I'm going to sing it is called alternating, and this is referenced in several medieval sources. It means you play an instrument and you sing, but not at the same time, as the instrument is used only to introduce the tune and to play the burden between verses. That, I think. Those at the front will see how beautifully decorated this is. You can probably get some sense at the back as well. The season, it was lovely. At dawn one day I went to play down by a fountain running on orchard ground, rose hedged around. I heard a fiddle playing, and with the sound a knight I found, all with a maiden swaying. They danced with grace and comeliness, so well their dance was poignant, and they embraced and then they kissed in tenderest enjoyment. Their dancing spent, this couple went to a flowery spot secluded, and down they went to their heart's content, playing the game of Cupid. Then on I sped, so full of dread, that either one had seen me. I felt so sad, for such love had been my desire completely. From distant view a voice came through, one of the pair responded, desiring to know of me who I was and what I wanted. I walked their way downheartedly, said I had loved a lady, to every degree I'll loyal be, as long as life is in me, the suffering that loving her brings, my words can only fail me, and loving sting my death will bring, unless she comes to save me. So beautifully, so courteously, these lovers did console me. They wished to see God's remedy, that I would have love to enfold me. In sorrow great for this I wait, and to them I extended thanks deeply meant. In tears I went, to God they were commended. Correspondence to organise this, Penny was particularly interested in medieval dance. Unfortunately, no medieval dance choreography survives, and only a tiny number of medieval dance tunes. This means if you see anyone claiming to perform medieval dance, it's really Renaissance dance, or they're making it up. I'll play you one of the surviving medieval dance tunes from Manuscrit de Roy, which is a compendium of troubadour and trouvère verse written down somewhere between 1254 and about 1270. And then in around 1300, someone filled in a few blank spaces with the monophonic music, I'm going to use a single melody line, for 11 instrumentals. 8 of them are Estampies, which we'll come on to later, and 3 of them are dances. We know this is a dance because in the manuscript it says dance. Medieval musicians were expected to be expert improvisers, to be able to add flourishes, embellish a tune, and add a second polyphonic part on the spot. So I'll play this once straight, as it appears in the source, and then I'll add some additions the second and third time through. next will be the medieval harp. When you talk of a harp, people tend to expect huge orchestral harp. As you'll see, medieval harps were small. You didn't really get big harps until the Renaissance, by which I mean past 1400. So, with the medieval harp, I'll sing you the earliest surviving English secular love song with complete verses. All those caveats are important because there is an earlier medieval love song and only one verse survives. Well, it's probably a love song. We can't tell because we've only got one verse. It probably is. But this is the only one that's secular, it's a love song, and we've got all the verses. It's called Brid on a brere, bird on a briar. It's dated about 1290. And it's an example of an English song completely in the vein of troubadour Finchale in the following ways. We start with a scene from nature, as Finchale songs often do. In this case, it's a bird on a briar viewed from afar, beautiful, unreachable, unattainable, which represents the woman he desires. Then we have the typical Finchale themes. I want her. She doesn't want me. I want to die. Bird on a briar, bird on a briar. We are born of love to crave. Blissful bird on me have pity. Oh, dig, love, dig, thou me my grave. So bright, bird on a briar. When I see that handsome one in the hall, she is white of limb, lovely, true. She is fair and flower of a love. Might I have her of my own will, steadfast of love, lovely, true, of my sorrow she may me save, joy and bliss would ever me renew. Bird on a briar, bird on a briar. We are born of love to crave. Blissful bird on me have pity. Oh, dig, love, dig, thou me my grave. we've heard one of the 3 earliest songs in English, a devotional song by Godric of Finchale, and the earliest secular love song with complete words by Anonymous. And now to the 2 earliest secular songs of any kind, both earlier than Birds on a Briar, and being English, both about the weather. The earliest is Mirie It Is, from around 1225. You may have heard a version, because this is very well known in early music circles, that goes like this. I'll sing to you the version, there's only one verse, and then I'll tell you why it's wrong. So the typical version that people sing goes, Mirie it is, will somebody last with Fuchales song, och nu hef windes blast and redes throng, what this nicht is long, and is with well me shall wrong, surchen moon and fast. That's the standard version everyone sings. It comes from a book published by Dobson and Harrison in 1979 that was circulating well before then, because you hear it in the Wicker Man, that version. And it takes great liberty with the only surviving manuscript copy, changing some words and completely modernising the tune. It's different, I can't stress this enough, it's the only version that survives. And everyone sings it because most people who sing medieval music don't read medieval notation. They get their songs from books which are written in modern notation, and they trust it, which of course is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. But you come a cropper when what's written in the book isn't actually what's in the manuscript, as in this case. So the manuscript does have some problems of interpretation, and what I'm about to sing is an attempt to get back to what the manuscript really says, both in the words and in the music. I'll sing it in Middle English, then at the end in Modern English again. The song is about the privations of winter, with a much greater degree of dried food if you have the storage space, or less food, and therefore greater illness and shorter days of life. As I say, we have only one verse. I should say, everything I've played so far is monophonic, which means you get a single line in the manuscript. The arrangements, well, that's me. And you'll see that with almost anybody. Occasionally you get polyphonic medieval music. It's written down polyphonically, several parts, but much of the popular stuff, in other words, the non-sacred stuff, is monophonic. We know people just didn't sing a cappella and people played instruments and made up the parts, because we've got huge amounts of iconography showing people doing it. What they did, well, you know, that's a matter of research. So all the parts that I'm adding I can justify historically through the research about what happened in the music that was written down. So we know the sort of things that people did. So this is a Mirie It Is. Mirie it is, will the somebody last with Fuchales song. Och nu cheth windes blast and redes strong. What this nicht is long, and is with well me shall wrong, surchen moon and fast. Merry life it is while the summer it lasts with sound of bird song. Oh, but now the cold wind blasts, it blows so strong. Oh, but this night is long, and it does to me much wrong. Sorrow and moan and starve. It sounds quite different to the modern version, doesn't it? Yeah, that sounds to me like that's in keeping with the words. The other one just sounds like it's a modern sort of pop song. Anyway, I would like 5 people who consider themselves to be good enough singers to be able to take a simple line. It's not complicated what I'm going to give you. A simple line, and be able to stand here with me and sing Summer is coming in. While you're thinking about it, I'll tell you a bit about it. So this is from around 2050 to 60. It's the earliest surviving English secular polyphony. We're going to sing it in Middle English, but again, don't balk at that. Okay, it's going to be simple. In English, the words are this. Modern English, the words are this. Summer has come in. Loudly sing cuckoo. Seed grows, meadow blossoms, and the wood springs up now. Sing cuckoo. Ewe bleats after lamb. Cow lows after carp. Bullock leaps. Buck farts. Merry sing cuckoo. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Well sing you cuckoo. Don't cease you ever now. Okay? Now, this is for 6 voices. 2 voices sing the pes. The pes, it's Latin for foot. Okay? And all it is this. And I'm going to want 2 volunteers to sing this. Again, I'm giving you all the information you need, so you know whether you can volunteer or not. Okay? So the pes goes, sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo. That's it. But keep repeating. So we'll have 2 people doing it. So if I'm person 1 and person 2, we'll sing the same thing, but we'll start in 2 different places. So we'll go, sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo, sing. So they'll overlap. Okay? Now, the other 4 voices are singing Summer is coming in, Lord, sing cuckoo. Grow with sand and blow with men, springeth the water new. Sing cuckoo, our bloody after London, after Calvacoo. Bullocks there to the book of edge, Lord, sing cuckoo. Cuckoo, cuckoo, well, sing is the cuckoo, this with the emperor. Only they're starting in 4 different places. Now, I can't teach all that in one go. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to try and recreate the effect of that canon, those overflowing voices. So one person will go sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo, and those 2 will overflow. Now, let's say singing the lead, we got person 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to show you exactly what I want you to do. We're going to pick some of the lines to cascade, only some of them. So it will go. Summer is coming in, summer is coming in, summer is coming in, summer is coming in. Sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo. Cuckoo, 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 cuckoo. That's it. So if you're one of these people, all you have to do is remember, sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo, or you just have to go, and you'll be after me, so you'll know when it goes. You just have to remember, summer is coming in, Sing cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. That's it. See, easy, easy, easy. Do we have 2 volunteers for the PES? For the excellent. Number 1, excellent. Come and put you volunteers. Can we have a second volunteer for the PES? Fantastic. Fantastic.
Ruth, are we going? No. Come on.
So we've got the PES sorted out. We just need 4 voices for the lead, and I'm the first voice. So we just need 3. Okay, 1, excellent. 2, 3? Yes, excellent. Excellent. Oh, I think we've got them. Well, no, so you want to double up? You want to double up? Yes. Okay. So excellent. So, here's what's in all the world. Okay. What we need is the bits that I sung. So, okay. Here's what we're going to do. Let's just practice the PES stuff. Okay. So, if you are number 1 and you're number 2, okay. So just join in with me, and you've already got the tune, and I'll point you to start. And then I'm not going to sing the whole thing. I'm just going to sing the repeating bit so you get the hang of where it comes. Okay. So it's sing cuckoo, 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 now sing cuckoo. Summer is coming in, summer is coming in, summer is coming in, summer is coming in. Sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo. Cuckoo, 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 cuckoo. Keep going. Sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo. Now we'll do it for real. Sing cuckoo. Summer is coming in, love to sing cuckoo. Love is said and love with that, spring of the water no. Sing cuckoo. Our lady tapped along us after the cuckoo. Frolics there to book about this morning, sing cuckoo. Cuckoo, 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 sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo. Summer is coming in, Lord, sing cuckoo. Glow is said and blow with that, spring of the water no. Sing cuckoo. Our lady tapped along us after the cuckoo. Frolics there to book about this morning, sing cuckoo. Cuckoo, cuckoo, crossing is the cuckoo, they swing flat and the blue. Summer is coming in, Lord, the sing cuckoo. Blow his head and blow with them, spring of the water low. Sing cuckoo, our black teeth after long was after calico. Bullocks there to book a there is morning, sing cuckoo. Cuckoo, cuckoo, crossing is the cuckoo, they swing flat and the blue. Sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo. Huge round of applause. That's fantastic. Now imagine that, where the passage as it is, and the four singers here are singing the whole thing. You can hear the whole thing cascading. Not with that song, but with songs like it, which are what we call rounds or canons now. I've seen in the Czech Republic, in particular, videos on YouTube of singers in a church where it's super resonant, you know, under a domed roof, actually standing in a circle, so everybody's facing each other, and they're doing that. And as they're singing, they're sort of walking across the circle so the resonance is resounding. Just fantastic. Just fantastic. And it proves one point, really. Well, it proves lots of points, but the chief point I want to make is people seem to imagine that over time all human things get more complicated. So the further back in time we go, the simpler we go. And I think where music is concerned, the opposite is true, because medieval music is far, far more complex than the simple stuff people are writing now, as you can see. I don't think there's anything like that in modern music, which is why I love medieval music. Good. Okay, so now we move to the citole. I'm going to play you an Estampie from the same French manuscript as the Danse, which is dated around about 1300. It's a musical form named the Estampie. It started in France in the 12th century. Sorry. Bit out of breath. You need two brains to be able to point to people and know which part they're supposed to be singing and sing a completely different part yourself. Yes. So in a music thesis, also dated around 1300, Johannes de Groscheo in Paris described the Estampie thus. There are several sections of new material. The sections are of varying and unpredictable lengths. And each section has an open and close ending, what today we call a first and second time bar. This varied and unpredictable form, given shape only by the open and close endings in each section, makes the Estampie unique. Johannes de Groscheo wrote, and I'm going to test this out on you, the audience, today. He wrote, on account of its difficulty, it makes the minds of young men and of girls dwell upon this, and it leads them away from wicked thoughts. He also wrote, because of its difficulty, it makes the mind of the performer and also of the observer focus on it, and it often diverts the minds of the rich from wicked thoughts. So let's test it out. Now in this manuscript, there are 8 pieces called Estampie. The first one's called the First Royal Estampie. The second one's called the Second Royal Estampie. The third one's called the Third Royal Estampie. I think you get the idea. And this is the second one. This instrument is called the citole. I will tell you more about it later. No, it works. Fantastic. Fantastic. I'll play with another Estampie. This is written about 30 years earlier. And I'm playing this because this is the earliest surviving piece of English instrumental music. It's untitled in a few leaves of music dated around 1270 that were inserted into an unrelated book. So, just sheer chance this has survived. You can really hear the irregularity of the Estampie in this one, and to my ears, this is one of the high points of medieval instrumental music. If you've an ear for the architecture of a piece of music, you'll hear that this is just all over the place. And that is the point with an Estampie. That's what keeps you from wicked thoughts. Those wicked thoughts. Shouldn't have put it away. This is the bit where I tell you about the instruments. So, does anybody here play a plucked instrument? You know, guitar, mandolin, anything like that? Yes, yes, okay. Well, this is nothing like it. This is a citole, shaped like a wedge with a thumb hole to allow access to the neck. It means you can still reach the whole of the neck, as you can see. It doesn't restrict movement at all. This is based on the only surviving citole in the British Museum, dated between 1280 and 1330. And unfortunately, in the 16th century, Robert Dudley, favourite of Queen Elizabeth, had a mad idea. He bought the citole and he decided to try and impress the Queen. He had it converted into a violin by taking the pegs out, filling the holes, putting the pegs in the side, ripping off the fingerboard, putting the new fiddle fingerboard on, changing all the gubbins around here. It couldn't have worked. You're going to garrot yourself trying to play this as a violin. But it survives in that state in the British Museum. It has magnificent carvings all over it, as does this. And the foliage is somewhat replicated. The dragon on the tip, when I finish, by the way, come and have a closer look if you want to. The dragon is replicated, but the rest is sort of hunting scenes. I don't want hunting scenes. So I've had replicated my favourite medieval marginalia from the period. So you've got a bunny rabbit fighting a knight. You've got a man who's a snail on the bottom half down fighting another bunny. You've got an amphisbaena, which is a sort of dragon with another head on the tail. You've got a mermaid. You've got a bunny with a flag riding a snail. Just fantastic. This was carved by a very clever man who actually made 3 of these 4 instruments. A chap called Paul Baker, who I am very, very pleased to call my friend, and I'm very, very pleased to say it takes me 15 minutes in the car to get to him. So very, very, very fortunate. You can probably just about tell it's carved from there, but I say, come and have a look. Here's what makes the citole completely unlike any modern plucked instrument. The action is what we call the height of the strings from the fingerboard and from the soundboard. You can see that the action is very, very high. This is not what you expect. You expect the action to be very, very low. You want it as low as you can possibly get it without the strings buzzing. Well, this is very, very high. The back is keel-shaped. Comes out. This is carved from the solid. And the soundboard, though made flat, is glued on so it's arched. Now, all of that together has an effect. And also the sort of wedge shape. What that does is it makes an instrument which is very, very stiff, very, very resonant. It makes it very loud, and it emphasises all the treble frequencies. So these people knew exactly what they were doing in making an instrument like this. Which is why in some iconography you see a single player playing a citole dancing for a group of dancers. And they could be heard. I mean, you heard how loud this was. Typically, in iconography of citole players, you see a plectrum like that. I don't know anybody who's discovered what that might be until I was just, you see something on the internet, oh, that looks interesting, click on it. Oh, God, that's like a citole plectrum, a stylus, a writing stylus. Writing styli were what was used with a tablet of wax that if you're in business, you do all your sums for the day, don't you, after that, so you smooth the wax over again. And a writing stylus was either metal with a removable tip, or it was just sharp, or bone. That is not bone, but it's very, very close to it chemically. This is made of antler. Much easier to get hold of antler, because you got lots of free antler if you're around the right time of year in the right field. Okay, so that's antler plectrum. It's rather like Brian May's sixpence. If you know Brian May of Queen, he doesn't use a floppy plastic plectrum. He uses a sixpence, which is completely rigid, like that is. And nowadays we expect to play with floppy plectrums. So you have to play with a very, very different style. You have to be very ginger and light when you're playing with this. But what it gives you is volume, as you heard. So that's the citole. That is typical of the harps which were made in the 12th and 13th century internationally. Before then, a typical harp was if you imagine the arm here is missing, And then imagine a complete, well, an incomplete triangle. That's how they're made. And then in the 12th and 13th century, they started curving them and adding the front post. Nowadays, a modern harp has all sorts of levers and pedals and bells and whistles. So you can play in any key you like. All the shops and flats are freely available. All you got to do is, move a lever or press a pedal. Not so medieval harps. This is diatonic, which means you've got only natural notes. But music was diatonic. So, we didn't have scales, we had modes. So, D to D, that's the Dorian mode. G to G, that's the mixed Lydian mode, and so on. Okay, without sharps or flats. You do start to see sharps and flats being introduced. Originally, just B flat, in which case you'll tune your B string flat, like I've done today. But more and more you have, particularly when you get to the 13th, 14th century, you have increasing amount of what they call musica ficta, fictitious music, additional sharps and flats. You can still play it on here. You either retune your harp, and there's lots of evidence of doing that, or you do what's called fretting. So, for example, I don't know if I can demonstrate standing up, but I'll try. That is a B flat. That is a B. So I release a hand, I press that against the post, and it goes up by a semitone. That's how you do it. So if you want an E flat and an E, you tune the string to E flat, and when you need an E, you fret it. Okay. Some harps were extraordinarily decorated, typically with sort of animal heads on the top and all sorts of, carving around here. And some were very, very, very plain. This is made by Ardeville in Scotland, who only make historical harps. And I've never ever played a harp which is as resonant as these, which is why I've got one of those. Gittern. Solid piece of wood, carved into a bowl, with a sickle-shaped peg box, again with a carved head on top. And then sometimes the soundboards were very plain, sometimes like this, they were highly decorated. This is actually based upon, it's copied from a fresco in Assisi, Italy, which is dated somewhere between 1312 and 1318. It was finished in 1318 by Simone Martini. In the fresco, painted on the wall, the gittern ends there. So you can't see what's on the head. But they all had, animal heads or human heads or so on it. Plectrums were either quills, again, a writing implement, like the stylus, or, plenty of evidence for this, a gut string, fold it in half, tie it in the middle to keep it secure, and then play with it, like that. Always held between those two fingers, and then secured by the thumb. So again, very, very different to a modern plectrum. Now, the thing about the gittern in this, it is the most detailed depiction we have. And you can see very, very clearly from the painting, all of the four courses are in octaves. They're all strung in octaves, like a modern 12-string guitar. So you can probably hear there we've got two notes going at once, an octave apart, which means you get a big sound when you play it, as you've heard. By the way, citole, harp, gittern, and the organistrum symphonia, all the strings are made of gut, which is sheep intestines, cleaned and treated in various ways. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. And lastly, this instrument started out, at least evidence, 1100. So that's what, nearly lunchtime. And initially, it was played by two people. about twice the size of this, one person to turn the crank, and one person to pull the levers at the top. So it must have been a very, very deep instrument, deep sounding instrument, because as you probably know if you're a musician, the longer the string length, the deeper the note. Okay, which is why, for example, mandolins are so high sounding because they're small. I don't know how many of you can crank your necks, but I'm going to show you the inside of it. So, here's what we see. Imagine a fiddler with a bow, but instead of a bow, we have a wheel. So obviously the bow will only play the strings when it's touching the strings. The difference is, this is touching the strings all the time. So you have a continuous sound. And you have two drone strings, and either one, or in this case two, melody strings. And then what you're going to want to do to play a tune is obviously play the keys. The keys were sometimes on the bottom, sometimes on the top, as with this one. And what happens is the key stems move forward, and what's called the tangent attached to this key stem makes contact with the string and shortens the string length, and therefore changes the pitch of the string, like this. Now, if you're going to play in every available mode, you can't have the drone strings at the same pitch all the time. Now, they must have had a way of changing the pitch of these drone strings. We don't know what it was, because no symphonias orchestrums survive. So what I asked Paul, who made this, to do was put me some capos in. So, for example, on that drone string, which is playing F at the moment, to play in every mode, I need that string to be at C or D, hence the capo, and I need that string to be at either F or G or A. So F to G to A. Now, I imagine I must have done something like that. Otherwise, they've just retuned it. But actually, it's very difficult to get a string that's really going to work if it's going to be at both F and A. That's quite a big leap for a string. So it's probably going to sound resonant at one and it's going to snap at the other, or resonant at one string and too floppy to be of any use at the other. So a capo, like you put it on a guitar, seems the obvious answer. Now, when you get to around about 1500, so now we're well into the Renaissance, we have the first example of an instrument we can say is like the modern hurdy-gurdy. It's in Hieronymus Bosch's Garden of Earthly Delights, which is just an incredible painting. There's an article about it on my website. Well, there's 3 articles about it on my website, if you really want to know. And that has what we call the sham, the dog. And it's the sound which you get on a modern hurdy-gurdy from 1500, which sounds like a blue bottle in a jam jar. So it's the one that you make the rhythm by turning the crank in particular ways. And it has a bridge which is loose. So at particular frequencies, in other words, when you're moving the crank right, it buzzes. So that means along with the tune, you're hearing like that, or whatever rhythm you want to do by the way you turn the wheel. But that's centuries after this instrument. This is what became the hurdy-gurdy. All right. So I'm going to sing you the last song, but I'm going to tell you about it first. 1208, Pope Innocent III ordered the Albigensian Crusade against the Albigensians or Cathars, a religious group declared heretics. If you know your theology, basically they were Gnostics. That's why he declared them heretics. As an incentive to slaughter, Pope Innocent said any French nobleman who joined the crusade and took up arms against the Cathars in the south was entitled to their land. The Cathars lived in Occitania, and the crusade against them was commonly perceived as a war on the region as a whole. It was not under French rule, so it followed that a key prize of this crusade was winning the territory for the French crown. By the end of 20 years of carnage, from 1209 to 1229, thousands of Cathars were massacred. The county of Toulouse was under French rule, and provincial society was destroyed, with the additional favourable consequence for the Catholic Church that the troubadours of the Languedoc were virtually wiped out. In a further attempt to destroy the influence and popularity of the troubadours, the Catholic Church co-opted troubadour language. The Virgin Mary was now addressed in Catholic verse as if she were the troubadour object of love. A musical example is a song I'm about to finish with. Edi biu the heuene, in an English manuscript dated between 1265 and 1290. The song is a mixture of standard Marian theology and phrases right out of troubadour Finnemore poetry. I'll just read you the Finnemore bits, which I'll sing in a second, so you can hear what I mean. It is clear for all to see that of all women most noble you are. My sweetest lady, have pity on me and hear my prayer. This is about the Virgin Mary, remember? There is no maid of your complexion, so fair, so beauteous, so rosy, so bright. Sweet lady, on me have compassion, and have mercy on me your night. Gentle ladies, soft and sweet, I cry for mercy, I am your man, both hand and foot, and all completely, serving you in all ways that I can. I am in your love now bonded, and for you is all my desire. Doesn't sound very Catholic. The song is for two voices, and since there's only one of me, I will sing the cantus superior, the leading voice, and the polyphonic cantus inferior, the accompanying voice, I will play on the symphony. Ho ho ho!
Blessed are you, Queen of Heaven, people's comfort and angels' bliss, mother unblemished and maiden pure, such in this world none other is. It is clear for all to see that of all women most noble you are. My sweetest lady, if you will, have pity on me and hear my prayer. You arose as the break of day that separates out from the dark of the night. From you sprang the illumination, bathing the whole of the world in light. There is no maid of your complexion so fair, so beauteous, so rosy, so bright. Sweet lady, on me have compassion, and have mercy on me your night. Lost and sprung from a single root, the Holy Ghost does you rest upon. For the salvation of all mankind, all souls to redeem in exchange for one. Lady mild, soft and sweet, I cry for mercy, I am your man, both hand and foot and all completely, serving you in all ways that I can. You are a two-good seed, on you fall the heavenly dew. From you sprang the blessed fruit, the Holy Ghost is sown in you. You lead us out of care and dread, that Eve so bitterly for us brewed. You shall us into heaven lead, so very sweet is that heavenly dew. Mother full of noble virtue, maiden so patient, well taught and wise, I am in your love now bonded, and for you is all my desire. You shield me from the fiends of hell, cause you are noble with strength and might. Help me till my life is ended, and to your Son me reconcile.
I've played you no sacred or liturgical music, i.e. no music for the church office, but I've sung both religious and secular songs. In an age when faith was a given and troubadours went to fight in the Crusades, it's a moot point how meaningful it is to separate the religious and the secular in the medieval period. Yet we must, because some in the Middle Ages had such exacting standards for righteous or godly behaviour. There was a complicated interplay between the sacred, the godly, and the secular, the ungodly. Some in the church hierarchy railed against the immorality of minstrels, professional musicians, while it was also common for a bishop to employ a personal minstrel, and for angels to appear in ecclesiastical arts playing what we might think of as secular instruments. Some monks were troubadours and trouvères, but the top of the Catholic hierarchy wanted troubadour and trouvère poetry co-opted for worship of the Virgin Mary, and troubadours literally destroyed for the indecency of being open about sexual desire. With the Albigensian Crusade, the top level of the Catholic Church got its way. Yet the art of the troubadours spread internationally in their lifetime, and their influence was felt well past the medieval period, well into the Renaissance and beyond, with male poets seeing themselves as the helpless captives of cruel but beautiful and unreachable women. I have shown you 4 of the instruments of the 12th and 13th century: symphonia, gittern, harp and citole. There are many others I don't play: fiddle or viola, shorn, duct flute, pipe and tabor, positive organ, portative organ, bagpipe, and more that weren't around yet. There were yet no rebecks, no lutes, no recorders. Today there is really no equivalent of the gittern and the citole, but of course the harp continued to develop, and the symphonia became the hurdy-gurdy. Musically, there's no modern equivalent of the medieval practice of alternating or of the estampie. But we still have the equivalent of troubadour verse in songs about cruel and unattainable women, and if not in song, then in conversation, the English still both celebrate and complain about the weather. Any questions?